Hi friends, and welcome to my channel! Today we are here to talk about this whole BTS censoring controversy that's going on right now. For those of you who are unaware, there is a certain Korean word that sounds like a certain English word. So the powers that be have decided to censor that word when broadcasting BTS' new song, Fake Love, on American music and television. Now, as one singular American person of color, I of course have my opinion on the situation. However, I do understand both sides of the argument. I understand why they have decided to censor the word. I also understand, however, why people are kind of upset and confused about the decision to do so. But instead of jumping straight into my own personal opinion on the situation, I decided to start with arguments from both sides. You know, we'll talk about why they did it, we'll talk about why people think they shouldn't have done it, and then we'll get into what I believe on the situation. So let's start with the breakdown of each word in question, just for those who may be a little bit confused about the situation and not understand the nuances involved. The Korean words in question are nega and niga. Ne means me or I. Ni is indicative of you. Ga is simply a subject marker. So in Korean sentence structure, you add ga to the end of the subject. So if the subject is me, ne, I'm going to add ga, 내가. 내가 자전거 타고 있어. I'm riding a bike. You know, I don't know why this is riding a bike, but clearly it is. Now, nega and niga, when said very quickly, could be very similar to the English word nigga, which is a colloquial... How am I going to explain it? It is a colloquial term used within the Black and African American communities. However, that word, while used comfortably among the African American and Black communities, is reclaimed and derived from a word that holds much more weight and was originated as a very degrading racial slur against Black people, and it is still used as such today. For that simple reason, I understand the decision to censor the words niga and nega when broadcasting in America, because as an English speaker, hearing those words might be kind of like jarring. In order for there to be no misconceptions about what's going on, they just decided to alleviate the problem before it began. Any K-pop fans out there who have friends who speak English but don't listen to K-pop and you play a K-pop song around them, we have all dealt with that. Did that Korean boy just call me? Me personally, I never heard it. I never thought that that's what they were saying, but I would be stupid to deny the similarities between the words, like it's obvious. Another point on this side of the argument is when you're breaking into a new market, you have to follow the rules that that market and or culture may have in place. For example, when Red Velvet went to perform in Pyongyang, North Korea, their outfits were a little bit more conservative than they had been during their Korean promotions. Their shorts were longer, and there was no midriff shown. And the same thing could be said of this preemptive censoring of a word that could be misconstrued as the N-word. So far, we haven't had any official statements from anyone involved. I think there was an American DJ who made speculation, but most of the speculation regarding this issue comes from the fans. If this decision came straight from Big Hit itself, I think it's an amazing show of good faith to censor oneself in order for the greater comfortability of the listeners involved. However, if this decision came from the American side, I think this is a perfect segue into the other side of the argument. On the other side of the argument, people don't think it's fair to ask them to censor such an integral part of the Korean language just because it bears similarities to a very offensive English word. I thought it would take longer to explain the other side's argument, but that's pretty much it. Simply put, it doesn't mean what you think it means, so get over it. Now has come time for my opinion. I understand why they would choose to take the words out in order to avoid offense. However, I understand why people don't understand why they would choose to do that, because it has nothing to do with what they're trying to make it about. If I had any say in the final decision, which I didn't, I don't, it's a decision that has been made. There's no way to change the past. It's done. But if I did have a say in the decision, I would most likely favor the side that would say to leave the words as they are. Leaving the words as they are could have been an amazing teaching moment for the American public. Like I said before, if any of you have played K-pop for your English-speaking friends who don't listen to it, you've all gotten that reaction. Oh, you're really gonna like this one. You're gonna like this song. What? What's wrong? Why did you turn off my radio? Did he just say he was a boss? But after a simple and calm explanation of the situation and the words and the language, it's resolved. And as we're moving closer and closer to a truly global society, I think it is extremely important and necessary to know and be cognizant of things that they may do in other places that you are unaware of yourself in the comfort of your home country. Since English is the international language of money, and since America is the pioneer of pop culture, I think that us as Americans, albeit maybe subconsciously, can be a little bit arrogant when it comes to learning new languages and embracing new cultures. So that is one aspect of why I feel like censoring those words may be a little bit more counterproductive than productive. Another reason why I feel like they should have left the words intact is because when you're listening to a song and you can clearly tell that they edited that song, you're going to believe that those lyrics are actually explicit. One example, and this till this day still irks me to my soul. When Nicki Minaj released Starships, in her second verse she says, "My name is Onika, you can call me Nicki." However, on American radio, they must have felt that Onika, her name, was still too close to the word nigga, so they chose to reverse it every time it came to that part. And every single time they play it like that, I'm like, people are gonna think she's saying my name is a nigga. Maybe I'm listening to the song unedited and I did think she said my name is a nigga, right? And when I hear it on the radio and it's actually bleeped out, that's gonna confirm, okay, so she was saying that. I wasn't tripping. By doing that to Korean songs, you are giving people more fuel to the fire to think that they're actually saying something inappropriate. But if you leave it in, common sense will kick in. There have been certain times when I've been listening to a song and I thought that they were saying something inappropriate, but they're playing it on the radio, so I know that it wasn't actually inappropriate. They are not, listen, they are not going to let 7 boys straight from Korea come to America and start saying nigga, regardless, much less on the radio. They don't even let Nicki Minaj do that, but they're gonna let these boys from Korea come do that? I feel like if I heard something a little bit interesting like that, I would just know, okay, they must not be saying what I think they're saying because there's no way they would play that on the radio. It just doesn't make sense to me. I just feel like, 1, why would they do that? 2, who would allow them to do that? And 3, that's it. All in all, I have been sitting here talking about this for way too long. I know I'm gonna edit most of this out. However, I just want to give my closing thoughts on the situation. I think that whichever way they chose to go, censoring it, not censoring it, it was the right decision. All I'm saying is that if I was in the board meeting to decide whether or not we're going to censor it, I probably would have leaned more towards the side that would leave it in, just because I am very interested in learning new languages, learning new things. Like my nose is itching. Oh my gosh. As I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted by my itching nose, I'm very interested in learning about new language and cultures. I'm studying Korean right now. I've studied Japanese in school. I took 5 years of Spanish in school. So languages and learning how to communicate with other people around the world is very interesting to me. I know that not many people feel that same way, especially in America, because English is the predominant language of business in the world. So I do very much understand why they would make this decision in order to appease the masses who probably would not take the time to figure out what was really going on, and they would just cause an uproar. But I still hold that it's very unfortunate that this even had to be an issue. And this is not the first time that I've had to deal with this, okay? Some of you may or may not remember when 21 was getting a little bit of airplay in America with Nega Che Talaga, and they took the nega out, and it was just like, what? But that was on a much smaller scale, so I don't think it got as wide coverage, but this is huge because it's BTS. Hopefully this won't have to be an issue for the next K-pop artist or group who decides to break into the Western media, but it is an issue right now, and unfortunately there's nothing we can do about it. We just have to observe, speak our minds, and make sure that we're not losing sleep over it. Alright, that is about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe. And in the comments, let me know what you feel about this issue. Do you think it's right to censor it? Do you think it's not right? Why and why not? And I will catch you all on the flip side. Bye! For example, when Red Velvet... For example, For example, when Red Velvet went to Pyongyang,